Hey there! Thanks for tuning in to Duck Bricks, and today we're gonna take an early look at Oscorp Tower. Out am I? Oh, not yet, because this set is out on August 1st, 2025. But LEGO has sent me an early copy to review of the Green Goblin's headquarters, and there's a lot to see here. So join me as we take a look at Oscorp, where all your dreams can come true.
This right here is our largest comics-based set of the wave. 76324 is simply titled Spider-Man vs. Oscorp. It comes with 808 pieces and for some reason retails for $140 US or 130 euros, which makes absolutely no sense to me, and the sad thing is it's not even the most overpriced set of this entire wave. This is continuing the mini modular system that they introduced for Marvel with the Across the Spider-Verse set earlier this year, but it's also the same modular building system they used for LEGO Monkey Kid, right down to the same exact placement of the Technic pins. So if you wanted to, you could actually combine those two types of settings and have a giant street made out of them. It's a similar system they used for some of the smaller mini modulars for Creator 3-in-1 as well, and these are very reminiscent of that style of building. Altogether, I for one am very happy that LEGO Marvel is introducing some more location-based sets, as opposed to just putting out vehicle after vehicle. I long since have been saying that one of my favorite LEGO Marvel sets ever was the Web Warriors Bridge Battle, because it actually focused on a New York location to do battle in, and this is kind of along the same vein. Having locations where you can have your minifigures be posed around is a ton of fun. The set comes with a couple of side builds, the first of which is a very simple motorcycle for Miles Spin Morales, and you can see here that it is a very standard build. It's utilizing the same motorcycle elements that they've been using for ever since the Batman movie sets, where they introduced that piece to use for the wheels. So honestly, not too much I have to say about it, although I do like the lightning motif on the back, hinting at his powers. Moving on to the main buildings here, this is of course a modular system, so while this is the recommended configuration that you can see on the box and the manuals, you can really organize this whichever way you want. I'm going to split these up and take each building one at a time, starting off with the Mini Mart. The Mini Mart itself isn't necessarily a reference to anything in particular, but it's the closest to the Mart that appears in the Venom movies, and of course with Eddie Brock's apartment directly above it, it kind of makes sense that it is somewhat thematically tied to Venom, given that it's a common destination that he visits in the movies. Inside Eddie Brock's apartment here, you can see a chicken for Venom to eat, a security camera on the side, as well as a nice sticker showcasing the different types of Venom, like you've got Anti-Venom there, kind of a green version, and of course Spider-Man's hood on a dartboard, because of course he is a major enemy of Spider-Man. On the top here you have just a very simple roof. One thing I do like about these buildings are the inclusions of lots of different Technic axle elements to allow you to stick in different pieces to pose your minifigures, and the set does come with a series of printed tiles showcasing famous comic covers recreated as Daily Bugle newspaper fronts. So you have Spider-Man No More there with the spider hood in the garbage, and of course an empty garbage bin directly against it. Moving on to the next building, we have another civilian building, and this is the jewelry store, of course titled Marvelous Jewelry. The 1964 building number is a reference to Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 1, which came out in 1964, even though Spider-Man himself was introduced in Amazing Fantasy in August of 1962. Moving on to the inside of the jewelry store, we actually have a small play feature here where turning a lever allows you to shatter a window and allows somebody to steal the precious gems inside. Otherwise, to be honest, the interior is fairly sparse. There's not that much going on, although I do like the inclusion of some shattered glass on the pavement there, which suggests the fate of the window. Another cool detail I like is the security camera on the top here, which is utilizing a relatively newer element introduced earlier this year for LEGO Friends. It's a new cover light element, this time in the transparent black color, and it works really well for a security camera. The second level can be removed, so you can swap that out with maybe other future upper floors of buildings should LEGO continue this modular system, and here this is meant to be Miles Morales' apartment. So you've got a special spray can there, you've got a design showcasing him painted on the board, and a simple bed as well. There's a small little feature here with a red lever on the side, which honestly, I was expecting was going to do a lot more than what it does, but basically what it does is just lower this trapdoor, which allows you access to the roof if you wish to open up this roof element. There isn't really that much going on there, and I question the need to even have this be integrated as a function. I certainly was expecting something a bit more explosive out of that, like the feature they have in Peter Parker's apartment, the other modular apartment from this series, which has the bricks kind of smash and explode outwards, but honestly, it's okay for what it is, just not really that interesting as a build. I would say for me, the most interesting part of this build is easily Oscorp Tower itself, and this has the most going on when it comes to the building, which makes sense given that it's the set's namesake. I honestly kinda wish that some of the part budget just went into depicting a much larger Oscorp Tower, maybe with a more detailed interior, something closer to the Avengers Tower playsets that we got in 2015 and 2020, but this is still okay for what it is, and it's good to get different bits and pieces of a city street they probably wouldn't sell separately on their own. Starting off with the ground floor here, you have a sliding glass door which kind of opens and closes at a very simple mechanism there. You have a Green Goblin override sign which can be smashed and broken off, which we'll showcase in a second, and on the ground floor you have a very simple reception desk and the quintessential LEGO Marvel fire hydrant. The second floor showcases them experimenting on the symbiote, where clearly some of it has escaped outwards. You also have an experiment being done on the spider, there's a couple syringes in the box there, and pushing this Technic lever out allows you to smash open the Green Goblin override sign. It's a really simple play feature, but honestly one that works really well. And of course, you do have Green Goblin himself flying around on the outside. Perhaps he was the one that caused the explosion to his own building. Moving on from there, we can go up to the next level, and that is the Green Goblin's workshop. There's a little space for you to park his glider, which is a nice touch, and of course, you can see him experimenting on the Green Goblin bombs, which he is wielding in the set. One very nice thing that they've introduced for 2025 is instead of previous years where the flame piece was directly glued onto the bomb head itself, or the minifigure head, this time they have made it its own separate piece, so you can actually use the flaming headpiece for a ton of other characters. And finally, on the top floor, we have Norman Osborn's office, where you can see that you have Times Scare as the reference there on the Daily Bugle newspaper, Green Goblin Override on the computer screen, and a minifigure for Norman Osborn himself, plus a transformation feature, which allows you to place Norman inside the chamber and turn him into the Green Goblin. This is a very simple feature that we've seen throughout a ton of other LEGO sets, obviously popularized with Batman turning into Bruce Wayne, and this one is no different. It is maybe one of the most simplistic versions where you just spin the crane on the top, and then you can see on one side you have Norman Osborn, but on the other side he's gone on sabbatical, and you have the Green Goblin instead. I like the stickers on the side here, which showcase it's a restricted area. The entire thing is locked down, so you can kind of imagine that he's going into here and emerging as the Green Goblin, even though I do wish that there was one other feature which allowed you to kind of open it up from the side, maybe have the side of the building open up and let Green Goblin jump out, especially because it looks like those are hatches meant to open. On the top of the building, there's actually a very simple but clever play feature. It's Spider-Man attached to one of his webs, and you can see that since the web itself is attached to the mechanism, you can kind of mimic him swinging through the city if you get the swing just right. It takes a few tries, and you can't really maintain a continuous swing because he's just going to be hitting the sides of the buildings, but they haven't really incorporated a Spider-Man swinging feature built into a building, as far as I know, before, so this is actually a really cool feature to allow you to play and act some of his action battles through the city. And of course, if you have Green Goblin mounted on the bottom part there, you can actually have Spider-Man jump off the building and then jump into him. So that is also another play feature there, just with the way that this is built. Altogether, I actually really like the architectural design of the silhouette of Oscorp Tower. You can see that it has a very unique design with this angular aesthetic. There are these sharp wedges and angles pointing upwards for the tower itself, and of course that goblin glider is now mounted in place where it should be. The interior of Oscorp is relatively small, but I feel like they've covered pretty much every single scene in a mini version of Oscorp I would want to see. You've got the Norman transformation, you have the symbiote being experimented on, you have Green Goblin's workshop and Norman's office, so there really isn't much more to ask for where this is concerned. Now, I do want to briefly showcase the modularity aspect here, specifically with the other modular set included in the wave, which is Peter Parker's apartment. Strangely enough, Peter Parker's apartment is the only one that doesn't have a sidewalk built in. More on that for the individual review on that set, so it does look a little awkward when you have the buildings all combined and lined up. It just feels like there's a piece missing, but unfortunately that is just how it is. I think it was just maybe a miscommunication between designers here, but if you ignore the fact that it doesn't have a sidewalk, that's not a fault of this set after all. They actually do look pretty good on display next to each other. It really feels like these are part of a larger city, and that's something I really do appreciate. Of course, there are multiple different configurations that you could do here. When you connect it up to the mini mart, one thing you have to do is remove the security camera on the side, and of course you can kind of just place that somewhere else on the building should you please, but it is a little weird to have something sticking out of the side that you just have to remove for the modularity aspect. Altogether though, I think that this is a really fun play feature. I love it when LEGO sets are modular between each other, and I think it's a really smart idea to have a collectible range of sets giving you different buildings in the Marvel universe. I can imagine like a Nelson and Murdoch office would be really cool. Even getting a smaller Avengers Tower or Baxter building in the style of this set would be awesome additions to the lineup, and there's a ton of iconic LEGO Marvel buildings. The Sanctum Sanctorum could be another one they could do just like this. So altogether, I think that this is a really promising system. I think there's a lot of things they can do with it, and you can see the modularity happening on screen right now. I just hope that they do plan to keep them all consistent and prevent mistakes like the Peter Parker's apartment not having a sidewalk from really happening again. Moving onwards though, I do have to talk about the price and value here, because this again retails for 140 US dollars or 130 euros, but only comes with 808 pieces. Sure, some of those pieces are large, like you have the large Stein with a big sticker on it that says Oscorp, but honestly, this set should not be anywhere close to 140. I think $90 would honestly be pushing it for a set like this. Maybe $100 I could see with the amount of minifigures, with the amount of new minifigures as well, although really if you think about it, we only technically get like 3 or 4 new minifigures. Kraven the Hunter is a new print, the new version of Green Goblin is great, Eddie Brock is really just using pre-existing parts, but it is a nice unique minifig to get, and same as Norman Osborn, and all the other Spider minifigures have appeared in other sets. So it's not like the budget was spent on minifigures here, because we only really get a few new prints. It's just very baffling to me that this is $140, and I honestly cannot recommend you pick this up at full price, because the price is just way too high for the amount of stuff you get. Honestly, I would have been very happy for them to like sell Oscorp by itself, just this tower, for maybe 50 or 60 bucks. I know that's not how LEGO budgets work. The designers were briefed to make a $140 Oscorp set, but for $140, I just am not seeing the value whatsoever here. With that though, let's take a quick look at all of the different minifigures included in the set, and then we'll wrap up my final thoughts at the end. Starting off with the minifigures, we have the Green Goblin. This is actually a relatively newer outfit from 2024 in the new Ultimate Universe, which was kind of repurposed Stark tech turned into the Goblin armor, and I find it really interesting how LEGO is actually adapting a very new style of design for this classic character. Green Goblin himself is utilizing a recolored Ninjago Dragon's Rising hood in purple, which is the first time we're getting it in that color, and a brand new set of head print, as well as torso and legs. It's easily my favorite minifigure from this set, and for good reason. It's super detailed, a very unique look for the Green Goblin, and we've gotten a ton of classic comics-based Green Goblins in the past, so it's really cool to have a more high-tech version, especially because this goes alongside Oscorp. As I mentioned, his pumpkin bombs also have the removable flame head piece, which is super cool to get. Finally, as a removable piece, it looks very similar to the original one, but this time you can remove it from the head. Norman Osborn also is a minifigure included in the set, although he is just a kit-bashed figure made of pre-existing pieces, mostly from like the LEGO Harry Potter theme and a couple other themes here and there. I think it works okay for the minifigure itself. He does have an appropriately angry expression on the back of his head, which I think works very well for the character, but honestly, it's not all that interesting. We receive a newly updated version of Kraven the Hunter, and he only just has a brand new torso print. Altogether, the rest of the pieces are pre-existing, using the Doctor Strange head, where I think, honestly, this is a little controversial, but I think it kind of does work for the character. The previous head for Kraven that we got originated in the Jurassic World theme for Vincent D'Onofrio's villain character from the first Jurassic World movie, and I also think that while that was a reuse that did work decently enough for the character, it would be cool to one day get a dedicated head print for him, but honestly, I think this works alright. It's unfortunate to get only plain legs, but it's kind of what we expect from LEGO Marvel nowadays. This is nothing like Ninjago, where literally every single minifigure is absolutely covered in detail. Here, you're lucky to get a new torso print, because this is LEGO Marvel after all. Moving on to the next figure here, we have Eddie Brock, and he is once again utilizing pre-existing parts, but I actually really like the minifigure for what it is.
Eddie, we've been turned into a minifigure!
And you can see Venom on the back there. It's a very simple build with a neck bracket, a jumper element, and the simple Venom head. He is reusing the newer style of Winter Soldier head they've made, which clearly was made to be a generic kind of head that they can use for multiple different characters. It also was used on Quicksilver in the Quinjet, so obviously they are trying to get the most mileage out of this head as possible. But again, the angry side, I can sort of see that working for a comics-based Eddie Brock. I definitely don't think they needed to make a new head for this character, and it is cool to finally get him in a quote-unquote civilian form, because we've literally never gotten Eddie Brock as a minifigure before. Moving on from that, the rest of the minifigures are unfortunately repeats. Miles Spin Morales does not have the dual molded legs that he has been featured with in a couple of other sets, which is pretty unfortunate, but the rest of the outfit is really nice, especially with that dark red hoodie piece. I really do like the look of this figure. On the same vein, moving on from Spin, we have Spider-Woman, who strangely reappears this year, but without the dual molded legs that she first had in her first set appearance. I don't really understand why LEGO Marvel seems to be downgrading their minifigures. It must be a budget thing, because dual molded legs cost just that much more than regular legs, but it is so baffling to me because it seems to only happen to LEGO Marvel. You don't really see these obvious budget cuts in really any other theme, so it is very disappointing to see. Otherwise, it's a decent minifigure, just don't know why they made it objectively worse. Ghost Spider or Spider-Gwen here is a decent figure, although it is getting a little bit old at this point. We've seen this figure in a ton of different sets, but I think the design is alright. I'm certainly excited for the future Spider-Verse CMF version though, because that one is looking a lot better. Moving onwards, we have the standard Spider-Man minifigure. No dual molded legs, which is unfortunate, but he does have printing on the arms, which is quite nice. I do like how LEGO tends to kind of alternate between having printing on the arms or having dual molded legs. They kind of try to do something a bit different for every single Spider-Man, so I think this one is alright as the current incumbent Spider-Man, but honestly, not my personal favorite. And with that, we have summed up my look at the Oscorp building here. It's a very overpriced set in my opinion. Doesn't really make sense that it's $140, but if you set the price aside, I actually do like it as a modular building. I think it does genuinely have a good amount of different things to offer for fans of LEGO Marvel, or just fans of LEGO sets being modular with each other within the same theme. That's all for this review. Thanks so much for tuning in, and be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Bye for now.